Yes. Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we meet this afternoon to take up the final item on our agenda, item 11, the adoption of the report of the Commission session. Over the past few days, we have deliberated on a number of issues of significance for this region. I would like to express my deep appreciation to the Bureau of the Commission, the bureaus of the two committees of the whole, and the working group on draft resolutions for having accomplished their assignments with efficiency. I note with appreciation that the close cooperation of the delegations and the efficient servicing by the Secretariat has enabled us to complete all of our work on schedule. At this time, I would like to invite the chairs of the two committees of the whole and the working group on draft resolutions to report on their committees. I would also like to remind the members of the Commission that, as stipulated in Resolution 73/1, the report we are about to adopt contains only the decisions and resolutions that we'll be considering now. A draft record of proceedings will be prepared by the Secretariat following our session and circulated to our capitals for comments, after which they will be finalized and published. If this is clear to all delegations, and if there are no comments, I now invite Mr. Penny Suvenakama, Chair of the Committee of the Whole One, to report to us on the work of that committee. Sir.
I thank you, Madam Chair. Your Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon to you. I wanted to especially convey how honored and privileged I am as a Pacific Islander to present at this meeting with Your Excellency, Madam Chair, presiding over our progression this afternoon. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as the chair of the Committee of the Whole One, it is a pleasure for me to provide some highlights of the deliberation of the committee, which resulted in the decisions as contained in document ESCAP/74/L15. The Committee of the Whole One was entrusted by the Commission to consider items 2, 3A, item 3B, 3C, 3H, 3J, and 5 of the agenda of the Commission. I am pleased to report that the committee has successfully completed the tasks assigned to it with full cooperation of all delegations and with the excellent support of the Secretariat. The committee deliberated on a range of important issues pertinent to the respective agenda items, with a full record of the proceedings to be finalized by the Secretariat following the session. Madam Chair, allow me to highlight briefly a few of these issues under each of the agenda items, which are as follows. Under agenda item 2, on special body on least developed, landlocked developing, and Pacific Island developing countries, the committee considered the summary document of the Asia-Pacific countries with Special Needs Development Report 2018, which noted the links between conflict and development, and that sustaining peace is an important requirement for achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Several member states representing the countries with special needs shared their efforts in this regard and expressed their appreciation for the policy recommendations made in the report. Under agenda item 3A on microeconomic policy, poverty reduction, and financing for development, the committee discussed the economic and social survey of Asia and the Pacific and expressed its appreciation for the work of the Secretariat in identifying main risks the region faces, including efforts to go beyond traditional exports to rejuvenate trade and accelerate structural reform. The committee also considered the report of the Committee on Macroeconomic Policy, Poverty Reduction and Financing for Development on its first session and the issues contained therein. Under agenda item 3B on trade and investment, the committee recognized the role of trade and investment in achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, while noting that trade and investment have been the engines of growth for the region. Several member states shared their views on trade and investment policies and regional integration initiatives and the challenges faced in this regard. The committee noted that the WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement and the Framework Agreement on Cross-Border Paperless Trade Facilitation are two initiatives which can assist economies in achieving these goals. Countries also expressed their appreciation for the efforts of the Secretariat in assisting the member states, especially the least developed and landlocked developing countries, through its capacity building, technical assistance programs, and policy advisory services. Under Agenda Item 3C on transport, the committee recognized that the development of integrated and intermodal transport, seamless connectivity, and urban transport were essential for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The committee also noted that road safety was a common challenge for member states and said the Secretariat could act as a forum for sharing best practices, for enhancing road safety and helping member states in achieving targets under Sustainable Development Goal 3 on good health and well-being. Under Agenda Item H3H on statistics, the committee recognized the importance of statistics for monitoring and implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and for strengthening the evidence base for policy making. The committee noted that the experiences shared by member states in implementing the Asia-Pacific Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Decade 2015 to 2024 and the Regional Action Framework for Civil Registration and Vital Statistic, as well as their efforts to improve collection of data by their national statistics offices. The committee also acknowledged the work of the expert group on disaster-related statistics in Asia and the Pacific to develop a disaster-related statistics framework. Under Agenda Item 3J on sub-regional activities for development, the committee expressed appreciation for the valuable work undertaken by the sub-regional offices and the unique platforms that they provide that help to contextualize and accelerate the implementation of the 2030 Agenda, while also contributing to greater policy coherence, synergy, and to articulating the sub-region's voices in the pursuit of inclusive and sustainable development. The committee also noted that these sub-regional offices have been successfully bridging the great distances of many member states, which are in remote locations and have geographical disadvantages, and also acting as a platform for sharing of experiences within the sub-region. Finally, under Agenda Item 5 on regional economic cooperation and integration in Asia and the Pacific, the committee discussed the issue of regional economic cooperation and integration in Asia and the Pacific, including the Ministerial Declaration on enhancing regional economic cooperation and integration, as well as issues related to integrated and seamless connectivity for sustainable development in Asia and the Pacific. Member states shared experiences in their efforts towards regional integration, especially in the sub-regional context, and highlighted that regional integration can facilitate inflow of investments as well as technology. Madam Chair, the deliberations resulted in the recommendations of a number of decisions, as reflected in document ESCAP/74/L15 for consideration and adoption by the Commission. May I take this opportunity once again to thank the Vice Chairs from Bhutan and Nepal, as well as the Secretariat, for providing me excellent support in the delivery of my duties as Chair of the Committee of the Whole One. I thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Executive Secretary, and distinguished delegates.
I thank the Chair of Committee of the Whole One for his report. May I now invite Ms. Anuradha Mitra, Chairman of Committee of the Whole 2, to report to us on the work of that committee. Madam.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Your Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. As the Chair of the Committee of the Whole 2, it is both an honor and pleasure for me to provide some highlights of the deliberations of the committee which resulted in the decisions contained in document ESCAP/74/15L15. The Committee of the Whole 2 was entrusted by the Commission to consider agenda items 3D, 3E, 3F, 3G, and 3I, 4, 6, 7, and 8 of its 74th session. Madam Chair, I am pleased to inform you that the committee successfully completed the tasks assigned to it with the full cooperation of all delegations and excellent support of the Secretariat. The committee deliberated on a range of important issues pertinent to the respective agenda items. As my colleague from the Committee of the Whole 1 noted, the full proceedings will be completed following the session. Therefore, Madam Chair, allow me to briefly highlight a few of these issues under each agenda item. Under agenda item 3D on environment and development, the committee took note of the importance of mainstreaming the environmental dimension to achieve the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and highlighted the role of ESCAP to support the member states in implementing the Sustainable Development Goals, especially through capacity building and exchange of knowledge and practices. Delegations also expressed their appreciation for the joint conference on the environment held by ESCAP in cooperation with UN Environment, as well as their support for the implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Environment and Development for Asia and the Pacific 2017. The committee also highlighted the importance of agriculture and natural resource management for sustainable development in the Asia and the Pacific, and in this context expressed its appreciation to the Center for Sustainable Agricultural Mechanization for supporting the member states. Under agenda item 3E on information and communications technology, science, technology and innovation, the committee emphasized the importance of promoting ICT connectivity for all in achieving the SDGs, and in this context highlighted the importance of ensuring availability, affordability and reliability of broadband access for all. The committee also acknowledged the vital role of new and emerging technologies to advance sustainable development. Noting that the ICT supports connectivity between different countries, the committee invited all ESCAP member countries and partners to continue their close collaboration in implementing the Asia-Pacific Information Superhighway Initiative to reduce the digital divide. The committee noted that science, technology, and innovation are major driving forces for sustainable development in the region, and in this regard welcomed their inclusion in the work program of ESCAP. The committee emphasized the importance of capacity building on science, technology, and innovation policymaking, new and emerging technologies, and the transfer of technologies so that the countries can develop, adopt, and apply new technologies for advancing the SDG. And in this regard expressed its appreciation for the important work of the Asian and Pacific Training Center for Information and Communication Technology for Development, APCICT, and Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology, APCTT. Under agenda item 3F on disaster risk reduction, the committee welcomed the ongoing efforts of the Asia-Pacific Disaster Resilience Network, particularly its importance in furthering regional coordination and multidisciplinary networking on disaster risk reduction, building on the Secretariat's normative and analytical work in this area. The committee recognized the role of space applications to address sustainable development goals, especially disaster risks, and expressed its commitment to the Regional Space Applications Program. The committee also recognized the need for further capacity building and stronger regional cooperation in disaster information management, and in this regard, welcomed the operationalization of the Asian and Pacific Center for the Development of Disaster Information Management, APDIM. Under agenda item 3G on social development, the committee reaffirmed its commitment to reducing inequalities and to developing inclusive societies that leave no one behind, in line with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The committee highlighted national initiatives to support vulnerable groups, provide social protection, ensure equal employment opportunities for all, and address population aging. The committee also underscored the importance of disability-inclusive development, highlighted national initiatives in this regard, and underlined the importance of implementation of the Indian strategy to make the right real for persons with disabilities in Asia and the Pacific. The committee noted that advancing gender equality and empowerment of women is essential for inclusive and sustainable development, and some countries informed the Committee of Policies and Programs in this regard. Under item 3I on energy, the committee welcomed the outcomes of the second Asian and Pacific Energy Forum, including the adoption of the Ministerial Declaration on Regional Cooperation for Energy Transition towards Sustainable and Resilient Societies in the Asia and the Pacific. The committee recognized the progress made in achieving the targets under SDG 7, while noting that further efforts are needed in achieving universal access to energy services, energy efficiency, and renewable energy. The committee recognized the immense potential of regional energy cooperation, noting the importance of energy trade with neighboring states and in having a long-term strategy through the ESCAP platform to promote regional cooperation in improving energy connectivity, including electricity, oil, and gas pipelines. Sorry. Under agenda item 4 on the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in Asia and the Pacific, the committee was apprised of the urgent need to accelerate progress on the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, given the record of regional progress. The committee noted the substantial implementation challenges that existed, including the shortcomings in data to monitor progress and fully localize the agenda and other capacity-related challenges. The committee also discussed the need to take further steps towards the horizontal and vertical coordination required for the convergence of efforts required to reach the poorest and most left-behind groups, the involvement of non-state actors, and to increase knowledge and awareness of the 2030 Agenda, especially at the provincial and district levels. Under agenda item 6 on management issues, the committee considered the changes to the program planning and budgeting exercise pursuant to General Assembly Resolution 72/266 and recommended the Commission endorse the proposed program changes for the biennium 2018-19 put forward by the Secretariat. The committee also took note of the report on the evaluation activities of the Commission during the biennium 2016-17 and the steps taken by the Secretariat to address those recommendations. Finally, the committee noted the report on partnerships, extra-budgetary contributions, and capacity development, and member states announced their pledges to the ESCAP program of work and its regional institutions. Details of these pledges are reflected in Decision 74/43 as contained in ESCAP/74/L15. Moving to agenda item 7, the committee took note of the work carried out by the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives and other representatives designated by members of the Commission, ACPR, in providing valuable advice and guidance to the Secretariat in the past year, while under agenda item 8, the committee considered that the 75th session of the Commission would be held in April or May 2019 and recommended that the theme topic for the 75th session would be empowering people and ensuring inclusiveness and equality. Madam Chair, the deliberations resulted in the recommendation of a number of decisions as reflected in ESCAP/74/L15 for consideration and adoption by the Commission. I thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Executive Secretary, and distinguished delegates. Thank you.
I thank the Chair of Committee of the Whole too for her report. I now invite Her Excellency Ambassador Saida Muna Tasnim, Chair of the Working Group on Drafts Resolution, to report to us on the work of that working group. Madam Ambassador.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, who I believe is going to join us soon, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, permit me at the outset to thank the Commission for entrusting in me and Mr. Li Hong, my distinguished colleague and permanent representative from China, to ESCAP, the responsibility of chairing the chairing and vice chairing the working group on draft resolutions. We indeed enjoy the honor at working with each of the distinguished delegates in the working group. I wish to extend to them our deepest thanks for their active participation in the deliberation and also for their flexibility and the spirit of cooperation and consensus building right from the beginning of our informal working group's work to the very end of the deliberations. This year, of course, the working group worked throughout the weekends and until 10:30 at night. And that happened for 3 consecutive days, including Saturdays and Sundays. And I would like to especially put on record our thanks to the Secretariat for providing us with free lunch, free dinner, and refreshments to keep us going. Through extensive deliberations and consultations, the working group was able to reach consensus on almost all resolutions under consideration. As the chair of the working group, I can say with satisfaction that even though there are reservations of 1 or 2 delegations in certain resolutions, however, we had worked really hard to compromise our national interest and to come up with agreed texts. So I can confidently say that the text of all 11 resolutions were agreed by consensus. In the spirit of multilateralism, I certainly look forward to adoption of the resolutions by consensus. I would also like to acknowledge here the efforts of the Secretariat throughout our consultations over the past few weeks. I speak for the entire working group when I say that support provided to them was greatly appreciated. Madam Chair, it is now my honor to present to the Commission this year's slate of draft resolutions as recommended by the working group on draft resolutions. For consideration and adoption by the Commission, here are 11 draft resolutions before the Commission for adoption. Each resolution deals with a range of important issues before the Commission, issues that are integral to the work of the ESCAP and for the Asia-Pacific countries, and reflects the importance Member States have placed on these issues we have been deliberating at this session. Without further ado, I will now not to read out the list of the draft resolutions. The first draft resolution is supporting a smooth transition of the least developed countries in the Asia and the Pacific towards a sustainable graduation, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L4, followed by promotion of the regional framework for the planning, design, development and operation of dry ports of international importance, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L5. Number 3, improving road safety in Asia and the Pacific for sustainable transport systems, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L6. Number 4, implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Environment and Development for Asia and the Pacific 2017, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L7. Number 5, transition of the Center for Alleviation of Poverty to Sustainable Agriculture to an intergovernmental organization outside the United Nations system, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L8. Advancing disaster-related statistics in Asia and the Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L9. Number 7, towards disability-inclusive sustainable development, implementation of the Beijing Declaration, including action plan to accelerate the implementation of the Indian strategy, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L10. And number 8, accelerating the implementation of the Regional Action Framework on Civil Registration and Vital Statistics in Asia and the Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L11. Number 9, implementation of the outcomes of the Second Asian and Pacific Energy Forum, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L12. Number 10, implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Regional Economic Cooperation and Integration to support the implementation of the 2030 Agenda in Asia and the Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L13. And finally, last but not the least, number 11, strengthening regional cooperation to tackle inequality in all its forms in Asia and the Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L14. Madam Chair, these are the 11 draft resolutions which the working group is recommending for consideration and adoption by the Commission. I sincerely thank you, and I recall once more that all resolutions in the text were negotiated threadbare to the consensus and satisfaction to all parties. I thank you and distinguished delegates for your support and cooperation.
I thank the ambassador for her report. We will now first take up the draft resolutions. For ease of review, I will take up the resolutions one by one in order of the agenda item under which they were tabled. You will see that the first resolution is entitled Supporting the Smooth Transition of the Least Developed Countries in Asia and the Pacific Towards a Sustainable Graduation, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L4. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. Are there any comments from the floor? Lao PDR, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I would like to take this opportunity to express our sincere appreciation to Bangladesh delegation for the proposal of the draft resolution ESCAP L74/L4, supporting the smooth transition of the least developed country in Asia Pacific toward a sustainable graduation. The Lao government attaches the great importance to attaining the graduation from the LDC status and to assuring the smooth transition. It is to make sure that the countries will not fall back to the LDC status again in the future. In this respect, my delegation fully supports the draft resolution and February co-sponsor the draft resolution. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, distinguished delegate. Your statement will be reflected in the appropriate places by the Secretariat. I now recognize the delegate from Bangladesh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A good afternoon to all. In realization of the dream of a Sonar Bangla, or Golden Bengal, of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and our visionary leader, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's Vision 2021, Bangladesh has recently attained all three eligibility criteria for graduation out of LDC category. As the LDC coordinator at the United Nations in New York, and being the largest country in the least developed country category, Bangladesh therefore took the initiative to sponsor at the UN ESCAP this resolution titled Supporting Smooth Transition of the Least Developed Countries in Asia and Pacific Towards a Sustainable Graduation, as in document ESCAP/74/L.4. Built upon the Istanbul Declaration and the Program of Action for the LDCs for the decade 2011 to 2020 and the UNGA Resolution 72231 on follow-up of the Istanbul Program of Action on LDCs, the resolution comments the socio-economic advancements achieved by LDCs in the Asia and the Pacific region, especially the sustained graduation eligibility by 10 out of 12 LDCs in Asia, all of which are currently at different stages of graduation process. It also calls upon the ESCAP to carry out a needs assessment on how to support Asia-Pacific LDCs in a coordinated manner in their sustainable graduation and smooth transition processes. I take this opportunity to thank all member states and fellow LDCs that have co-sponsored and supported the Bangladesh resolution on smooth transition and sustainable graduation, as well as those delegations who made compromises on their national positions towards consensus building in favor of our resolution. Bangladesh looks forward to working closely with all ESCAP member states and the UN ESCAP Secretariat in the coming days in due implementation of the resolution and in securing international community's sustained support measures and benefits for smooth transition of the graduating LDCs from our region towards their sustainable and irreversible graduation. I thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Bangladesh. Your statement will be reflected in the appropriate places by the Secretariat. I now recognize distinguished delegate from Timor-Leste.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Timor-Leste has its own roadmap approach to the implementation of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and SDG to ensure that no one is left behind. Timor-Leste roadmap is based on the National Strategy Development Plan 2011-2030, which is covered 3 key areas such as social capital, infrastructure, and economic development, with underlying strategy for creating an effective institutional and strong macroeconomic foundation to modernize and diversify economy, as well as strengthening the collaboration with private sector. However, Timor-Leste is continuing facing many challenges implementing 2030 Agenda and pursuing its sustainable graduation. As one of the LDC members that meet eligibility criteria for graduation, but due to concern about the sustainability of the development progress, the Committee for Development Policy on March 2018 deferred our graduation to the 2021. We would like to thank to the committee for the support and the understanding. Timor-Leste will continue make its efforts to coordinate with all relevant stakeholders, institutional, international community, multilateral and bilateral partners, as well as private sector to mobilize resources to support Timor-Leste's smooth graduation and for the implementation of the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs. Madam Chair, the resolution entitled Supporting the Smooth Transition of Least Developed Countries in the Asia and the Pacific Towards Sustainable Graduation is very important because it has highlighted the policy recommendation as well challenge facing by the LDC members toward a sustainable graduation and continue seeking international community support for the LDC members' smooth transition and graduation. Timor-Leste would like to thank the government of the Bangladesh for tabling this draft resolution, and we also co-sponsor this resolution. Timor-Leste would like to invite the international community development partner and the ESCAP to continue assist the LDC, LDP, and Pacific Development Island countries to providing assistance through capacity building, sharing experience, knowledge, and lesson learned in context of smooth transition to meet the target and moving toward sustainable graduation. Madam Chair, to end, allow me, on behalf of the government and the people of Timor-Leste, I would like to thank Her Excellency, Madam Executive Secretary, Dr. Samsak Attar, for your leadership and tremendous support extended to Timor-Leste in all aspects. I wish you all the best in your new endeavor. I thank you, Madam Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Timor-Leste. Your statement will be reflected in the proceedings of the meeting by the Secretariat. Are there any other interventions this time? I see consensus, so the resolution is adopted. Second resolution, the promotion of the regional framework for the planning, design, development, and operations of the dry ports of international importance, as contained in document ESCAP 74/L5. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. Any delegates who wish to make comments at this time? I see consensus, so this resolution is adopted. Third resolution to be presented, entitled Improving Road Safety in Asia and the Pacific for Sustainable Transport Systems, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L6. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. Any comments from the floor? I now recognize the delegate from Japan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I guess would like to express deep gratitude to the Her Excellency Ambassador of Bangladesh and the Vice Chair of the working group for guiding us through the resolution to come to this point to adopt by consensus of many of them. So having said that, again, thank you very much for the excellent stewardship and guidance for that. After consultation with my capital, my delegation is happy to announce that Japan is ready to co-sponsor the resolution sponsored by the Russian Federation. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate from Japan. Any other comments from the floor? Okay, I see consensus. The resolution is adopted. Oh. Okay, I recognize the delegate from the United States.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United States is pleased to join consensus on the adoption of the ESCAP resolution improving road safety in Asia and the Pacific. Allow me to express my delegation's appreciation to the delegation of the Russian Federation for its sponsorship of this resolution, and to its distinguished Deputy Permanent Representative Oleg Shamanov for facilitating the preparations for its adoption so ably. Madam Chair, the United States notes our concern with specific references to legal instruments and agreements, which in many of the referenced cases were drafted within a regional UN sub-organization, and to which, in some cases, only a small number of UN members are contracting parties. The United States is also concerned about references to, quote, internationally recognized standards, unquote, as it creates the misimpression that there are UN road safety standards. Of course, they do not exist, nor do we, the United States, support attempts to create them. The United States maintains that national governments are best positioned to balance road safety and other factors, including consistency with their WTO obligations, which inform their adoption of standards and regulations. In any event, again, we are pleased to join consensus on the resolution, and I make those points to clarify our position on issues contained in the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from the United States. We note your concerns, and we ask that you please submit your concerns in writing for the Secretariat to take those up as appropriate. Having no other comments from the floor, I think we have consensus, so we'll move forward to next resolution, which is implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Environment and Development for Asia and the Pacific 2017, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L7. Any comments from the floor? Delegate from the United States, please go ahead.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Our delegation would like to request a vote on this resolution. Thank you.
Okay. So the representative, distinguished delegates, the representative of the United States of America has requested a vote on the resolution entitled Implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Environment and Development for Asia and the Pacific 2017. It's contained in document ESCAP/74/L7. Are there any delegations that wish to take the floor at this time? I recognize the delegate from Japan. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I took note of the comment just made, but at the same time, my delegation is not a bit surprised with the move. So also, when it comes to the voting, we also usually request the headquarters to give us a guidance. So in short, in lack of time, and because it came just now, we need more time, at least, to say the least. So we need to ask the chair to consider the possible delay. I mean, I'm not asking for deferral or any of the procedure in nature. At least we need some time to consult with the capital. Having said that, it is not normally the case for the ESCAP to call for to adopt a resolution by the form of voting. So it is unfortunate. Of course, I mean, the country has a right to express its own wish in whatever way, and also it is maybe also based on the instruction from the capital. That understood, but we try to avoid such a procedural motion and try to come to a consensus resolution whenever it is possible. And in the history of the UN ESCAP, it is rarely the case to see such voting motions. So we regret that. And also, of course, this is not the first time to see that, but we don't want to see such occurrence in the future. But having said that, again, my delegation needs some time to consult with the capital on how to respond to the motion just made. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Japan. There is another comment from from Iran. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to you and to all colleagues. Madam Chair, I think as a matter of principle, as distinguished chairman of the working group was explaining, we were exhaustively discussing these paragraphs and draft resolution in good faith. And we made as many compromises as we could, and I think this is the product of our collective effort and energy. If for any reason we might wish to go for a vote, I propose to vote for the draft before compromises were made. There were a lot of paragraphs which we tried as a matter of compromise to make them more diluted. Now my request is to go to the very first version as proposed by the sponsor. Thank you.
Okay, chair is, Russia. Go ahead, delegate from Russia Federation, sir.
Госпожа председатель, российская делегация выражает сожаление в связи с решением делегации США поставить данную резолюцию на голосование. Это решение было принято, несмотря на неоднократные попытки отговорить делегацию США от этого неконструктивного шага. А также, несмотря на наличие других альтернативных вариантов отражения особой позиции Соединенных Штатов Америки. В более широком плане, уважаемая госпожа председатель, я хотел бы сказать, что делегации в ходе 74-й сессии комиссии приложили огромные усилия для того, чтобы согласовать многие важные резолюции. И благодаря совместным усилиям мы фактически пришли к консенсусу. Мы убеждены, что эти усилия заслуживают того, чтобы работа делегации была одобрена без голосования. Еще одна важная вещь, госпожа председатель, заключается в том, что целью проектов резолюций, которые мы обсуждали, является сотрудничество. Причем сотрудничество по наиболее актуальным вопросам для государств Азиатско-Тихоокеанского региона. Поэтому постановка на голосование проектов резолюций по этим важным для всех нас вопросам, по сути, подрывает это сотрудничество. Госпожа председатель, я согласен с предыдущими ораторами. Это не первый случай, когда одна из делегаций просит поставить проект резолюции на голосование. И такое право действительно есть у каждой делегации. Но это не соответствует традициям ESCAP. И, наверное, было бы неправильно позволять одной делегации сводить на нет усилия всех остальных делегаций. У меня большая надежда, что мы сможем в будущем решать все вопросы консенсусом. Но даже если нам придется сегодня голосовать, наша делегация надеется, что это голосование продемонстрирует приверженность абсолютного большинства государств-членов ESCAP многосторонним подходом. Я благодарю вас, госпожа председатель.
Are there any other comments? May I recognize Fiji and then followed by the ambassador of Kazakhstan. Thank you. Fiji, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, I think we have been trying our best to avoid voting. And also, in the few sessions that we discussed the resolutions, we already voiced our positions of our government in terms of the resolutions that were raised or tabled. We know that we have the right for voting, and we still have to get back to our capital for the final decision. But that decisions from our capital already raised during the discussion, days and nights, as already explained by our chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiji. May I ask the representative or the delegate from Kazakhstan to go ahead, please.
Делегация Казахстана, признавая право отдельных государств-членов ЭСКАТа поднять вопрос о голосовании, разделяет позицию делегации Японии, Российской Федерации, Фиджи о том, что в традициях ЭСКАТа принимать резолюции обычно консенсусом. Thank you.
I now recognize the delegate from the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My delegation has listened carefully to the comments of other distinguished delegates, and we take to heart the point that our dear distinguished colleague from Japan made about needing time to seek instructions from Capitol. And, you know, of course, we are always guided by the chair and are grateful for your guidance. If there is interest amongst delegations in delaying action on this particular item, we would be more than willing to learn more about what those possibilities might be. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. I now recognize the delegate from China.
谢谢主席女士。中国代表团同样呼吁维护 ESCAP 协商一致的传统。如果有人坚持投票，我们认为提出这一动议的国家至少应解释要求投票的原因，解释他们关切所在。谢谢主席女士。
Thank you, China. Japan, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Apologies to take the floor once again. The reason why I'm taking the floor again is that I forgot to mention that the point raised by the distinguished ambassador of Russian Federation and briefly touch upon the distinguished PR of China to see whether there's any other alternative other than the calling for a vote. If I recall correctly, during the ministerial session on the environment development, if I recall correctly, United States delegation decided to disassociate with the action taken. Of course, the ministerial conference may or may not follow fully the rule of procedure of ESCAP and ECOSOC, so maybe procedurally there may be some difference between the ministerial conference and ECOSOC commission. But having said that, of course, we need to also inform the capital what is why the U.S. is calling for vote, why they are coming, how delegation is coming from. So we just want to understand that, and of course, procedurally, the call was already, vote was already called. I don't know. It's up to perhaps the particular delegation who called for vote to change their mind, but I don't know at this point what others can do. But to say the least, because of the position taken, action taken by the U.S. delegation during the ministerial conference, and of course, I just want to understand if such option is still available for that delegation. So, of course, we still need time. Of course, with that, we need more time. So, please, of course, in terms of procedure, we are in the hands of the chair, but we just need to make an appeal once again. Thank you.
Thank you for all the comments. Let me just confer with the Secretariat and then we'll continue. Thank you. Okay, we will have a 15 minutes break to allow time for countries to confer as needed and for us to determine the next course of action. We'll come back at 3:30. Thank you.
we're okay. We've got 30.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now call the meeting back to order. Please take your seats. Okay, thank you. I believe we're all here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to ask the secretary to please go over our available options at this time with respect to our current situation. Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Given the comments, given the comments that have been received by delegations, there could be a couple of ways to proceed. One is that there has been a request made by the delegation of the United States to vote. We could proceed immediately to that vote. We could also move on. We can set aside this resolution for the time being and move on to the other resolutions that are before the Commission for the Commission's consideration and decision. I think that would be, right now, what we're facing is these two options. With respect to the intervention by the delegation of the Islamic Republic of Iran, it is the Secretariat's understanding that the proposal is to have the Commission consider the original text, the text that was submitted by the sponsor originally. It is of the view of the Secretariat that that text is not what is before the Commission at this point. So the question the Commission is looking at is the text that you have before you as contained in ESCAP/74/L7. The original text is not before the Commission. And then in addition to that, the fact that Rule 31 of the Commission provides that all resolutions, amendments, and other proposals that require a decision of the Commission should be submitted 24 hours ahead of time. So it is the view of the Secretariat that the Commission would not be in a position to consider that option. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretary. I recognize the delegate from Iran. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and through you, I would like to thank Secretariat for providing the explanations. I think procedurally, probably I will ask for the legal advice. As far as I've been involved in this discussion throughout ECOSOC, which I think this regional commission follow, and also GA, there is always in principle the right for a member state to reintroduce a paragraph, and if he thinks that this has to be tabled 24 hours ago, I think in principle it's for the very initial text. But in the course of negotiations, including in the course of considerations of the Commission, any member state is entitled to reintroduce a modification. That's why we are here to consider the endorsement. Otherwise, no one could challenge the text. Now I challenge the text and I reintroduce all modifications which were made prior to the consideration of the draft from the side of Iranian side. I thank you. And I would be very appreciative if you could provide us with a legal advice if my understanding is not the way that Secretariat does. Thank you.
I thank the delegate from Iran. Thank you, sir. Let me confer with the Secretariat. Thank you. All right, after some consultation, I'm asking the Secretary of the Commission to give us some advice here on how to proceed forward. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and again, thank you to the intervention by the delegation of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Allow me, please, to read Rule 31 in its entirety. Draft resolutions and substantial amendments or motions shall be introduced in writing and handed to the Executive Secretary, who shall circulate copies to the representatives at least 24 hours before they are discussed and voted upon, unless the Commission decides otherwise. Now, taking this into account, the Secretariat is of the view that if the Commission decides, and if the Secretariat understands the intervention of the Islamic Republic of Iran correctly, the Commission can decide to allow the delegation to introduce amendments to ESCAP/74/L.7. And then, if those amendments must be agreed by the Commission, and then once the complete text is agreed, then it is voted upon for adoption. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I recognize the delegate from the United States.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry to take the floor again, but we do have a point of order, which, according to Rule 30, we have an active motion under Rule 36, which we believe would precede any motions made to change the text that we have called a vote on. Thank you.
I now give the floor to the delegate from Iran again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will be very grateful if we could benefit as a principal right the advice of a legal advisor, please. This is the very basic right of every member state, and at this stage, I want to ask for legal advice. Besides, I would like to seek your advice. If there is an amendment proposed by a member state in the course of negotiation, which will be voted upon first, the text or the modified version? Thank you.
Well, again, in accordance with Rule 34, when an amendment revises, adds to, or deletes from a proposal, the amendment shall be put to the vote first, and if it is adopted, the amended proposal shall then be put to the vote. So any amendments made to shall be decided first, which is what I indicated. At this point, we're in a bit of a deadlock because the United States has requested a vote. But the delegation of Iran has requested that it be permitted to make amendments to the text that is before the Commission.
United States, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to also, again, raise a point of order. Rule 33, principal motions and resolutions shall be put to the vote in the order of their submission. Thank you.
I recognize the Marshall Islands delegate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since we seem to be in a deadlock here, could I make a suggestion that we move on to address the rest of the resolutions and come back to this resolution when we're finished with the rest? Thank you.
Would that be okay to the rest of the delegates to go ahead and come back to this later? Okay. Okay, we will then go ahead, delegate from Iran. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It's quite fine to us. We can proceed with other draft resolutions. In the meantime, I again repeat my official request of having a legal advice on whether we can reintroduce the same text on behalf of a member state. I think this is our right. We have been doing it at GA in ECOSOC. I will be very grateful if a legal advisor attends the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Iran. The Secretariat is hearing you and will take your advice under consideration and move forward. I now recognize the Russian Federation. Sir.
Благодарю вас, госпожа председатель. Российская делегация не возражает против того, чтобы перейти к рассмотрению других проектов резолюций. Однако при том понимании, что проект резолюции L.7 будет рассмотрен до конца текущей сессии комиссии. Благодарю вас, госпожа председатель.
Thank you for your comments, sir. We will now move forward to L8, transition of the Center for Alleviation of Poverty through Sustainable Agriculture to an intergovernmental organization outside the United Nations system, as contained in document ESCAP 74/L8. Any comments from the floor? I see consensus. So the resolution L8 is adopted. We now move to resolution ESCAP 74/L9, advancing disaster-related statistics in Asia and the Pacific. The floor is open for comments. Australia, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Australia very much appreciates the work of the Philippines in tabling this resolution, and we would like to announce that we would, our intention to co-sponsor the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Australia. Any other delegates who wish to make intervention at this point? Okay. I see Philippines, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We just would like to express our appreciation to Australia for co-sponsoring this resolution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Philippines. Any other comments at this time? Okay, I see consensus. So this resolution is adopted. We move to resolution number 7, towards disability inclusive sustainable development, implementation of the Beijing Declaration, including the action plan to accelerate the implementation of the Asian strategy as contained in document ESCAP 74/L10. Any comments from the floor? Marshall Islands, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Madam Chair, advocating for disability inclusive sustainable development is one of the means to address the issue of inequality in the Asia-Pacific region. The Pacific Framework for the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the Convention on the Rights for Persons with Disabilities, the Ancient Strategy, the RMI's own Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act are some of the mechanisms that the Marshall Islands utilizes in speaking to the inequalities, discrimination, and exclusion of persons with disabilities in our society. To that end, the Republic of the Marshall Islands wishes to lend its support to this resolution and our desire to co-sponsor it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, the distinguished delegate from the Marshall Islands. Your statement will be reflected as appropriate. Any other comments from the floor? As I see none, I think we have consensus here, so this resolution is adopted. China, please go ahead.
谢谢主席女士。主席女士，各位同事，残疾人赋权是一项重要的社会事业。亚太地区有6亿残疾人，让他们拥有正常人的权利和尊严，是国际社会的共同责任。我们感谢各方对刚刚通过决议的支持，感谢各方对北京宣言及其行动框架的支持，感谢各方对决议的建设性贡献，也感谢相关国家参与我们决议的共提。中方愿与各方共同努力，推动亚太地区残疾人事业的全面发展。谢谢主席女士。
Thank you, distinguished delegate from China. I now recognize the United States delegate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United States is pleased to join consensus on the adoption of the ESCAP resolution towards disability inclusive sustainable development. However, while the Beijing Declaration and the Incheon strategy contain much that is useful to empower persons with disabilities, the United States does not support all of the statements or recommendations contained in those two documents. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. Your concerns are noted. We now move to the next resolution, accelerating the implementation of the Regional Action Framework on Civil Registration and Vital Statistics in Asia and the Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L11. Any comments from the floor? I see consensus. The resolution is hereby adopted. Fiji, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, on behalf of the Fiji delegation, wish to express our heartfelt appreciation to all member states for their support. As we all understand, this is the first resolution to be tabled in the informal working group, and I thank everyone for their support. Thank you. In Fiji, and I have to say, Vinakavakaliu.
Vinaka, Fiji, thank you. We move Now to the next resolution, implementation of the outcomes of the Second Asian and Pacific Energy Forum as contained in document ESCAP/74/12, L12. Any comments from the floor? United States, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My delegation wishes to call a vote on this resolution. Thank you.
Any other? Okay. All right, distinguished delegates, the United States, representative of the United States of America has requested a vote on the resolution entitled Implementation of the Outcomes of the Second Asian and Pacific Energy Forum, contained in document ESCAP/74/L12. Any comments from the floor? United States, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My delegation also wishes at this time to propose a roll call or request a roll call vote. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. Iran, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. If I may kindly request through you the same request that I made before, we would like the same original text to be voted upon, the one which was before so many compromises we made in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Iran. Your concerns are noted. May I ask that we move on to the next one, and we'll come back to, unless there are other comments from the floor. Okay, as there are no comments, we'll move on to the next resolution. Implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Enhancing Regional Economic Cooperation and Integration to support the implementation of the 2030 Agenda in Asia and the Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP/74/L13. Any comments? United States, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My delegation wishes to request a vote on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. The delegate of the United States has requested a vote on resolution entitled Implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Enhancing Regional Economic Cooperation and Integration to support the implementation of the 2030 Agenda in Asia and the Pacific, containing document ESCAP/74/L13. Any comments from the floor on the request? United States.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My delegation also wishes to request a roll call vote at this time. Thank you.
Any other comments from the floor? If not, we shall now proceed to vote on the adoption of draft resolution ESCAP/74/L12. 13, sorry. Okay. The delegation of the United States has requested a roll call on this resolution. We will therefore proceed to a roll call on this resolution. At this time, I would like to remind the distinguished delegates of Rule 43 of the ESCAP Rules of Procedure, which states that after the voting is commenced, no representative shall interrupt voting except on a point of order in connection with the actual conduct of the voting. Brief statements by members consisting solely of explanations of their votes may be permitted by the chairman if he deems it necessary before the voting has commenced or after the voting has been completed. Before voting, I'll recognize the delegate from Japan.
Thank you. I think we have the one more resolution, L14. So my understanding is that we go for the all resolution, and where we found a request for vote, we vote afterwards. No? Sorry, this was my understanding. Could this Secretary or Chair can explain? Thank you.
I'll ask the Secretary to explain, please. Thank you.
The decision at the time by the chair was to put forward every resolution after L7 was to consider every resolution thereafter. So we would take them on a case-by-case basis. Thank you, Madam.
Okay, I will repeat what I said earlier. At this time, again, I would like to remind the distinguished delegates of Rule 43 of the ESCAP Rules of Procedures, which states that after the voting has commenced, no representative shall interrupt voting except on a point of order in connection with the actual conduct of the voting. Brief statements by members consisting solely of explanations of their roles, of their votes, may be permitted by the chairperson if he or she deems it necessary before the voting has commenced or after the voting has been completed. Are there any delegations that wish to take the floor at this time? Russian Federation, please go ahead.
Госпожа председатель, я хотел бы уточнить, рассматриваем ли мы сейчас проект резолюции об укреплении регионального сотрудничества по борьбе с неравенством во всех формах в Азиатском Тихоокеанском регионе, который содержится в документе L14.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Russian Federation. We are still on resolution L13. Thank you. Any other comments from the floor? If none, then we shall begin our vote. Distinguished delegates, we will now proceed to a roll call vote on this resolution in English alphabetical order of the names of members. We will draw lots to determine the first member that will cast its vote.
You can announce that Malaysia.
Yes, the first member to vote will be Malaysia. I will read out the names of each delegation, starting at Malaysia and ending at the Democratic Republic or Laos People's Democratic Republic, and would request delegations in favor of the resolution to say yes, those against the resolution to say no, and those abstaining to say abstain.
It's clear, we will begin to vote.
Is the voting instruction clear? Okay, we will go ahead and start voting. Malaysia. I don't know. Where is Malaysia?
What is their vote?
I don't see it.
Madam Chair, Malaysia agrees with the resolution.
Okay, Malaysia, please say yes, no, or abstain, please.
Yes.
Okay, next is Maldives. Maldives is not here, so we'll go on. Marshall Islands.
Yes.
Okay. Micronesia is not here. Mongolia.
Yes.
Myanmar.
Yes.
Nauru is not here. Nepal.
Yes.
Thank you. Netherlands. Okay. Nauru, Nepal, Netherlands, New Zealand, Pakistan,
Yes.
Palau. Palau is not here. Papua New Guinea.
Yes.
Philippines.
Yes.
Republic of Korea.
Yes.
Russian Federation.
Yes.
Samoa.
Yes.
Singapore. Not here. Solomon Islands. Not here. Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Tajikistan is not here. Thailand. They're not here. Timor-Leste.
Yes.
Tonga.
Yes.
Turkey.
Yes.
Turkmenistan. Tuvalu. Not here. United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Islands.
Yes.
United States of America.
No.
Uzbekistan. Not here. Vanuatu.
Yes.
And Vietnam. Not here. Okay. Please give us a moment to add it up and sorry. Afghanistan. Not here. Armenia.
Yes.
Australia.
Yes.
Azerbaijan. Not here. Bangladesh.
Yes.
Bhutan.
Yes.
Yes. Brunei.
Yes.
Cambodia. Not here. Democratic People's, China, sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. Fiji. Sorry, I'm sorry. Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Yes.
Thank you. Fiji.
Yes, madam.
France, not here. Georgia. India.
Yes.
Indonesia.
Yes.
Islamic Republic of Iran,
Yes, yes.
Japan,
Yes.
Kazakhstan,
Yes.
Kiribati, not here, Kyrgyzstan, not here, and Laos People's Democratic Republic of.
Yes, madam.
Okay, thank you. I think we have everyone. Thirty-one.
What do you have? 31.
Okay, the distinguished delegates, I see that 31 votes in favor of the resolution and 1 voted against. Thank you very much. Resolution is therefore adopted by the Commission. So, final. Are there any delegations that wish to take the floor at this time? Nepal, go ahead.
Madam Chair, Nepal sponsored the draft resolution on the implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Regional Economic Cooperation and Integration in Asia and the Pacific, issued by the Second Ministerial Conference on Regional Economic Cooperation and Integration in Asia and the Pacific, held in Bangkok from 21 to 24 November 2017. As the UN ESCAP members have agreed, economic cooperation and integration is very important for all countries in the region, for all the developed, developing, and least developed countries. We also understand that economic cooperation and integration can be helpful for UN ESCAP members, especially the developing and LDC members, towards achieving the SDGs and within the stipulated time frame. Yet, with this belief that the second Ministerial Conference on Regional Economic Cooperation and Integration in Asia and the Pacific adopted the said declaration. The declaration builds on 4 priority areas identified by the Bangkok Declaration of 2013, including promoting market integration, developing seamless connectivity, enhancing regional financial cooperation, and addressing shared vulnerabilities, risks, and challenges. The declaration also links the regional roadmap for implementing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in Asia and the Pacific with the 4 priority areas of the 2013 Bangkok Declaration. Madam Chair, the SDG 17 that calls for revitalizing global partnership for sustainable development envisages 2 partnerships among governments, civil societies, and the private sector. The government of Nepal believes that such a partnership is a must for achieving the SDG by 2030. And we also believe that the declaration of the Second Ministerial Conference on Regional Economic Cooperation and Integration in Asia and the Pacific can contribute towards promoting such partnership. It is with this belief that the government of Nepal sponsored the resolution. I appreciate the hard work done by the working group on draft resolutions and clearing it for the consideration of the Commission. I also sincerely thank all the co-sponsors for their solidarity with us. We expected the resolution to be adopted by consensus, but it had to go for voting. I express sincere thanks on behalf of the government of Nepal for the overwhelming support for the resolution from the UN ESCAP members. I am also confident that even those countries who found it difficult to vote for the resolution here would extend full cooperation in its implementation in the days to come. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Nepal, and I now recognize the distinguished delegate of the United States.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With regret, the United States votes against adoption of this resolution because the Ministerial Declaration on Regional Economic Cooperation and Integration to support the implementation of the 2030 Agenda contains language unacceptable to my delegation. We cannot support the resolution's call to endorse it. My delegation reiterates our position drawn from our November 23 statement at the Ministerial, where we dissociated from the declaration itself. The United States is not able to join consensus on the vague language inviting ESCAP to be directly involved in the work of enhancing regional economic cooperation. Regarding the reference to, quote, addressing protectionism, unquote, in paragraph 27A of the Ministerial Declaration, we wish to clarify that protectionism refers to unfair trading practices, including dumping, discriminatory non-tariff barriers, forced technology transfers, non-economic capacity, industrial subsidies, and other support by governments and related institutions that distort markets. We also note our understanding that the 2030 Agenda is comprised of non-binding targets that UN members aspire to achieve according to national policies and priorities. We are disappointed that this view is not captured in the language of this declaration and refer to our previously stated concerns regarding implementation of the 2030 Agenda. Finally, we wish to reiterate that the ESCAP Secretariat is positioned for success when it takes actions that reflect the consensus of ESCAP members, rather than a mere majority, plurality, or even less. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate from the United States, and I now recognize the delegate from China.
Thank you, Madam. 谢谢主席女士。区域经济合作和一体化是当前 ESCAP 推进合作的主要途径。本地区区域成员迄今已召开2次热席的部长级会议，中方深入参与了2届会议的讨论，也为会议的宣言做出了自己的贡献，并我们还参与了本次决议的共提。我们要感谢尼泊尔为第2次部长级会议成功举办所做的贡献，感谢他们提出本决议。同时，我也要指出，对这样一份凝聚了广泛区域共识的决议被诉诸投票，中方对此表示深深的遗憾。尽管如此，我们仍然相信决议的精神一定会得到区域所有成员的尊重。我们也希望各方共同努力，维护 ESCAP 的团结和协商一致的传统。谢谢。
I thank the delegate from China for your comments. Any other comments from the floor? If not, we now move to the resolution strengthening regional cooperation to tackle inequality in all its forms in Asia and the Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP 74/L14. I now recognize the delegate from Mongolia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Mongolian delegation expresses its appreciation to the government of the People's Republic of China for tabling this important resolution. And taking this opportunity, we would like to announce that Mongolia wishes to co-sponsor this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mongolia. I now recognize Thailand.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, my delegation would like to join others in expressing our sincere appreciation to the Chair and Vice Chair of the Working Group on Draft Resolutions. Thailand attaches great importance to reducing all forms of inequality and stresses its linkage to the achievement of sustainable development. In this regard, we would like to co-sponsor this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Thailand, for your comments. I now recognize the Russian Federation. Sir, you have the floor.
Благодарю вас, госпожа председатель. Мы рады сообщить, что Российская Федерация приняла решение войти в число соавторов этой исключительно важной резолюции. Благодарю вас.
I thank the distinguished delegate from the Russian Federation. Any more comments from the floor on this particular resolution? Okay, I see consensus, so this resolution is adopted. I recognize the delegate from China.
谢谢主席女士。不平等是众多国际冲突和全球挑战的重要诱因。应对各种形式的不平等，不但关乎个人的尊严和权利，也关系到社会的和平与稳定。本届年会各方从不同角度对应对不平等问题进行了深入讨论，这对推动区域共同采取行动具有重要意义。刚刚通过的决议反映了各方对不平等问题的基本共识，也为下一步区域合作行动指明了方向。中方期待决议得到切实的执行。在决议的磋商过程中，各方互谅互让，彼此尊重和照顾，合理关切，较好地体现了多边主义的精神。作为决议的主题国，我们感谢各方的支持、合作和建设性，感谢相关国家参与本决议的共提，期待决议能对本地区解决不平等问题有所注意。谢谢。
Thank you, distinguished delegate from China. I will now recognize the delegate from the United States of America.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United States joins consensus on the adoption of the ESCAP resolution, strengthening regional cooperation to tackle inequality in all its forms in Asia and the Pacific. However, the United States finds it necessary to dissociate from agreement with operative paragraphs 1F and OP2E. With regard to operative paragraph OP1F, we do not support attempts by states to incorporate domestic political language into international normative frameworks in multilateral settings. Doing so causes politicization, regionalization, and ultimately polarization. The United States dissociates from operative paragraph 2E to the extent that it requests the Executive Secretary to support individual member states' initiatives over others. Many initiatives to tackle inequality exist, and we need to work together, applying best practices and lessons learned to advance sustainable development and economic growth. As we said in our national statement, we, as members of this body, can and should hold ourselves to the highest standards of quality, transparency, and inclusivity. No one country holds the answer, and no single country's vision or country-sponsored program can replace meaningful national consultation on development goals and transparency in the use of scarce resources. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from the United States. Your concerns are noted and will be reflected as in appropriate places by the Secretariat. Any other comments from the floor? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Distinguished delegates, with your permission, we will move to consider the decisions of the Commission at this session before we come back to the two outstanding resolutions. Is that okay with everyone? You have before you document ESCAP 74/L15, which contains all of the draft decisions. With your concurrence, we shall adopt all the draft decisions together. Okay. Are there any general comments? Turkey, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, thank you for giving me the floor, and my appreciation goes, of course, to you, to the chairs of the committees and working group, the Madam Executive Secretary and the Secretariat for this important meeting. I have taken the floor in relation to agenda item 2, if I'm not wrong. This is now, that's what we are discussing. I would like to go on record concerning one issue that was discussed at the working group number 1, and that is the Asia-Pacific countries with special needs development report. I would like to reiterate our, of course, commitment and support to LDCs and to furthering implementation of SDGs. However, I would like to go on record, as I said, concerning the agenda item 2 draft decision, where, if I am correct, I don't have it right now in front of me, but it reads as following. The committee finalized the consideration of agenda item 2, and inter alia highlighted the need to revise the said report for the non-special needs countries. If my memory doesn't mistake me, at that meeting our agreement was that we would use the wording for the draft decision as considered, not finalization of the consideration. It may be a little editorial comment, but as Turkey is in disagreement with the references made to it in that report, and which I believe was a sentiment and a view shared by some other countries as far as it related to them, I would like to propose to use the language that we agreed at that committee, considered, and if we are going to stick with what is now proposed, then I would propose to change the word highlight to recommended. So it would either read, with your permission, finalize the consideration of agenda item 2, and inter alia recommended to revise the report, and so on and so forth. And if not this one, then considered, and leave the rest as highlight. Thank you.
Thank you, Turkey. I now recognize the delegate from Iran. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just to support distinguished colleague from Turkey on the editorial amendments she provided. We support it. Thank you.
Any other comments? I recognize delegate from Russia.
Благодарю вас, госпожа председатель. Я хотел бы поддержать предложение уважаемого главы делегации Турции и просил бы также секретариат в будущем более внимательно относиться к методикам научного анализа, которые используются при подготовке докладов секретариата, чтобы не допускать подобных ошибок в будущем. Благодарю вас, госпожа председатель.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Russian Federation. Any other comments at this time? I will ask the Secretary of the Commission to read out the changes that have been made at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With the proposal by the distinguished delegate of Turkey, draft decision 74/1 would now read, at its 7th plenary meeting on 16 May 2018, the Commission considered Agenda Item 2 and the summary of the Asia-Pacific Countries with Special Needs Development Report 2018, ESCAP/74/1, prepared for the agenda item, and, inter alia, highlighted the need to revise the report for the non-countries with special needs member states. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Secretary. Any other thoughts or comments? I recognize the delegate from Russian Federation. Go ahead, sir.
Госпожа председатель, мне кажется, предложение заключалось в том, чтобы в последней части этого абзаца записать and inter alia recommended to revise the report for non-countries with special needs member states. Поправьте меня, если я не прав. Спасибо.
Go ahead.
Thank you again, Madam, and thank you again to the delegation of the Russian Federation. It was the Secretariat's understanding that the proposal by the delegation of Turkey was that the Commission considered Agenda Item 2, and if this is what carries, that highlighted would remain and not be changed to recommended. I stand to be corrected, of course.
I recognize Turkey. Go ahead.
That is correct. However, for clarity purposes, I would second what my Russian colleague has now proposed and use the word recommended, regardless of whether we use finalized or considered alone. Thank you.
Okay. I will ask the Secretary to read the final changes. Thank you.
So now draft decision 74/1 would read, at its 7th plenary meeting on 16 May 2018, the Commission considered Agenda Item 2 and the summary of the Asia-Pacific Countries with Special Needs Development Report 2018, prepared for the agenda item, and, inter alia, recommended the need to revise the report for the non-countries with special needs member states. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Any other comments? If not, I see consensus in the changes that have been made. And so document ESCAP /74/L15, containing all the decisions of this session with minor changes as read out, is adopted. Okay, now we go back. Okay, thank you. We are now back to resolution L7, implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Environment and Development for Asia and the Pacific 2017. And we have on the floor the United States request to put this to vote, and also Iranians' recommendation to go back to the original text of the resolution. Any comments at this point before we take the next step? I recognize Iran, the delegate from Iran. Sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for giving me the floor. Just having witnessed that will of the House to go for the vote the way that we did, we would be flexible for the same practice that we've already done. But what I ask is a matter of position. I officially and through you request the Secretariat to kindly provide us with legal advice, not now, but later for the record. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Iran. Any other comments from the floor? I recognize the United States of America delegate. Go ahead, madam.
Thank you. At this time, we would also like to request that not only a vote, but it be a roll call vote. Thank you.
Okay, so the delegation of the United States has requested a roll call on this resolution, on resolution L7. We will therefore proceed to a roll call on this resolution. At this time, I would like once again to remind distinguished delegates of Rule 43 of the ESCAP Rules of Procedure, which states that after the voting has commenced, no representative shall interrupt voting except on a point of order in connection with the actual conduct of the voting. Brief statements of members consisting solely of explanation of their votes may be permitted by the chairman if it deems necessary before the voting has commenced or after the voting has been completed. Are there any delegations that wish to take the floor at this time before the voting? If none, then we shall begin our vote. Okay, we will now proceed to a roll call vote on this resolution in English alphabetical order of the names of members. We will draw lots to determine the first members that will cast its vote. The first member to vote will be Thailand.
Yes.
Okay, so I will read out the names of its delegation, starting with Thailand and ending with Tajikistan. Would request delegations in favor of the resolution to say yes, those against the resolution to say no, and those abstaining to say abstain. Thailand.
Yes.
Timor-Leste.
Yes.
Tonga.
Yes.
Turkey.
Yes.
Turkmenistan. It's not here. Tuvalu. It's not here. United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Yes.
United States of America.
No.
Uzbekistan. Not here. Vanuatu.
Yes.
Vietnam, not here. Afghanistan, not here. Armenia,
Yes.
Australia,
Yes.
Azerbaijan, not here. Bangladesh,
Yes.
Bhutan,
Yes.
Brunei Darus,
Abstain.
abstain. Cambodia, not here. China,
Yes.
Democratic People's Republic of Korea,
Yes.
Fiji,
Yes.
France, not here. Georgia, not here. India,
Yes.
Indonesia,
Yes.
Islamic Republic of Iran,
Yes.
Japan,
Yes.
Kazakhstan,
Yes.
Kiribati, not here. Kyrgyzstan, not here. Lao People's Democratic Republic,
Yes.
Malaysia,
Yes.
Maldives, not here. Marshall Islands,
Yes.
Micronesia, not here. Mongolia,
Yes.
Myanmar, not here. Nauru, not here. Nepal,
Yes.
the Netherlands, not here. New Zealand, Pakistan,
Yes.
Palau, not here. Papua New Guinea,
Yes.
Philippines,
Yes.
the Republic of Korea,
Yes.
the Russian Federation,
Yes.
Samoa,
Yes.
Singapore, Solomon Islands, not here. Sri Lanka,
Yes.
and Tajikistan, not here. Distinguished delegates, we have 30 votes in favor of the resolution, 1 voted against, and 1 abstention. Therefore, the resolution is adopted by the Commission. It is so decided. We move now to. Oh, no. Excuse me. Are there any delegations that wish to take the floor at this time? United States, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With regret, the United States votes against the adoption of this resolution because of concerns with the underlying Ministerial Declaration on Environment and Development for Asia and the Pacific. We wish to clarify our position on a number of points. With respect to references to the Paris Agreement, we note that the United States announced that it intends to withdraw as soon as it is eligible to do so, consistent with the terms of the agreement, unless we can identify suitable terms for re-engagement. We therefore note our concerns with language related to climate change and the Paris Agreement, and that such language is without prejudice to U.S. positions. We recognize that climate change is a complex global concern and affirm our commitment to environmental policies that promote a realistic and balanced approach to economic growth and energy security while also reducing emissions. With respect to paragraph 17, we do not support selectively singling out particular principles from the 1992 Rio Declaration on Environment and Development, and would note that Principle 7 of that declaration was explicitly limited to certain types of environmental degradation. Recalling these principles in this context does not imply, and the United States does not accept, that Principle 7 has any relevance or application to the range of issues addressed in the declaration, or to sustainable development as a whole. The United States recognizes that the innovation that will enable us to address the environmental and development challenges of tomorrow can only be realized in a system that fully protects the intellectual property of the technologies associated with these efforts, that calls for technology transfer only when voluntary and on mutually agreed terms, and embraces policies that allow for a level playing field, that afford equal treatment and do not negatively affect economic interests. Therefore, the United States does not support the references to technology transfer and continues to oppose language that we believe undermines intellectual property rights. Further, we underscore that many of the outcome documents referenced in the Declaration, including the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, Addis Ababa Action Agenda, Sendai Framework, and New Urban Agenda, are non-binding documents which similarly do not create or affect rights or obligations under international law. The United States recognizes the 2030 Agenda as a global framework for sustainable development that can help countries work toward global peace and prosperity. We applaud the call for shared responsibility, including national responsibility, in the 2030 Agenda, and emphasize that all countries have a role to play in achieving its vision. The 2030 Agenda recognizes that each country must work toward implementation in accordance with its own national policies and priorities. Furthermore, it calls for countries to implement it in a manner that is consistent with the rights and obligations of states under international law. The United States also highlights our mutual recognition in paragraph 58 of the 2030 Agenda that its implementation must respect and be without prejudice to the independent mandates of other processes and institutions, including negotiations, and does not prejudge or serve as precedent for decisions and actions underway in other fora. For example, this agenda does not represent a commitment to provide new market access for goods or services. This agenda also does not interpret or alter any WTO agreement or decision, including the agreement on trade-related aspects of intellectual property. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of the United States. Are there any other delegations wishing to take the floor at this time? If none, we proceed to L12, implementation of the outcomes of the Second Asian and Pacific Energy Forum. For resolution L12, the United States requested a vote of roll call, and also Iran had proposed, I'm sorry, okay, so it says, so as I said earlier, the delegation of the United States has requested a roll call on this resolution. So we will therefore proceed to a roll call on this at this time. I would once again like to remind the distinguished delegates of Rule 43 of the ESCAP Rules of Procedure, which states that after the voting has commenced, no representative shall interrupt voting except on a point of order in connection with the actual conduct of the voting. Brief statements by members consisting solely of explanations of their votes may be permitted by the chairman if it deems necessary before the voting has commenced or after the voting has been completed. Are there any delegations that wish to take the floor at this time? If none, we will begin our vote. We will now proceed to a roll call vote on this resolution in English alphabetical order of the names of members. We will draw lots to determine the first member that will cast its vote. The first member to vote will be Thailand again. I will read out the names of each delegation starting at Thailand and ending with Tajikistan. And would request delegations in favor of the resolutions to say yes, those against the resolution to say no, and those abstaining to say abstain. Thailand.
Yes.
Timor-Leste.
Yes.
Tonga.
Yes.
Turkey.
Yes.
Turkmenistan. Absent. Tuvalu. Absent. United Kingdom of Great Britain and the Northern Islands.
Yes.
The United States of America.
No.
Uzbekistan. Not here. Vanuatu.
Yes.
Vietnam. Not here. Afghanistan. Not here. Armenia.
Yes.
Australia.
Yes.
Azerbaijan. Not here. Bangladesh.
Yes.
Bhutan.
Yes.
Brunei.
Yes.
Cambodia. Not here. China.
Yes.
Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Yes.
Fiji.
Yes.
France. Not here. Georgia. Not here. India.
Yes.
Indonesia.
Yes.
Islamic Republic of Iran.
Yes.
Japan.
Yes.
Kazakhstan.
Yes.
Kiribati. Not here. Kyrgyzstan. Not here. Republic of Lao People's Democratic Republic.
Yes.
Okay. Malaysia.
Yes.
Maldives. Not here. Marshall Islands.
Yes.
Micronesia. Not here. Mongolia.
Yes.
Myanmar. Not here. Nauru. Not here. Nepal. The Netherlands. Not here. New Zealand. Not here. Pakistan.
Yes.
Palau. Not here. Papua New Guinea.
Yes.
The Philippines.
Yes.
Republic of Korea.
Yes.
The Russian Federation.
Yes.
Samoa.
Yes.
Singapore. Not here. Solomon Islands. Not here. Sri Lanka.
Yes. Yes.
Tajikistan. Not here.
Just give them a chance to double check.
Okay, distinguished delegates, we have 31 voted in favor of the resolution and 1 voted against and 0 abstained. Therefore, the resolution is adopted by the Commission. It is so decided. I now recognize the Russian Federation. The delegate, please go ahead.
Благодарю вас, госпожа председатель. Российская делегация сожалеет, что нам пришлось проводить голосование по документам, которые уже были согласованы по итогам консультаций в рамках рабочей группы по проектам резолюции. Итоги этого голосования говорят сами за себя. Хотел бы напомнить, что 2 года назад на 72-й сессии комиссии делегация Соединенных Штатов Америки попросила провести голосование по одной резолюции. В этот раз на голосование поставлены 3 проекта резолюции. Если так пойдет и дальше, то дело может кончиться тем, что мы будем голосовать по всем проектам резолюций. Я думаю, что все делегации согласятся со мной в том, что этого нельзя допустить. Россия нацелена на то, чтобы содействовать выработке объединительной повестки дня. Мы видим в этом залог успешного решения всеми странами Азиатско-Тихоокеанского региона насущных социально-экономических проблем. В ESCAP мы всегда могли находить общий язык, независимо от того, какими большими различия ни были бы между нами. Рассчитываем, что сегодняшнее голосование не создаст прецедента для будущих сессий комиссии. Благодарю вас, госпожа председатель.
I thank the delegate from the Russian Federation. Any other comments? I recognize the delegate from the United States of America.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With regret, the United States votes against the adoption of this resolution because the Ministerial Declaration on Regional Cooperation for Energy Transition towards Sustainable and Resilient Societies in Asia and the Pacific contains language unacceptable to my delegation. We cannot support the resolution's call to endorse it, therefore. We will reiterate points of clarification drawn from our statement of April 5, at which time we dissociated from the Ministerial Declaration. On the question of regional energy integration, the United States has supported, in particular, discussion within the ASEAN region on cross-border energy interconnection. We recognize the potential energy security, economic development, and environmental benefits of improved regional energy integration. It was in this spirit that we offered proposed text to acknowledge the ongoing discussion on regional energy connectivity based on experience and best practices. However, we could not accept the language for paragraph 7 and the related paragraph 12, subparagraph B, within the Ministerial Declaration. We shared our concerns expressed by other ESCAP member representatives over ESCAP's endorsement of a roadmap for cross-border electricity when member governments have had no opportunity to evaluate or discuss the guiding principles of such a roadmap. We also have concerns about the impartiality of the expert working group on energy connectivity designed to write this roadmap. We also believe it is problematic for this body to consider any one national proposal that presses a proprietary electrical technology throughout the region, thereby creating potential jurisdictional and grid security risks to governments, the private sector, and consumers in the ESCAP region. The United States reiterates the need for a system that fully protects intellectual property rights, that calls for technology transfer only when voluntary and on mutually agreed terms, and embraces policies that allow for a level playing field that afford equal treatment and do not negatively affect economic interests. Therefore, the United States does not support the references to technology transfer and continues to oppose language that we believe undermines intellectual property rights. For the United States, any such language will have no standing in future negotiations. We were disappointed that the Ministerial Declaration fails to clearly state that there are many different ways for countries to engage in energy transitions. The United States supports energy transitions that include energy efficiency and development of environmentally friendly sources of energy, in a diverse portfolio which may include fossil fuels, nuclear energy, and renewables. Finally, we wish to repeat our long-standing view that ESCAP is positioned for success when it takes actions that reflect the consensus of ESCAP members. All ESCAP members are needed for a consensus, rather than a mere majority, plurality, or even less. The United States urges member states to refrain from using such statements as vehicles for pursuing national agendas. Thank you very much.
We thank the delegate from the United States. Are there any other comments at this time? Okay. We'll proceed. Before we conclude our adoption of the resolutions, I would like to refer to the document ESCAP/74/L3, Addendum 1, Statement of Program Budget Implications of Actions and Proposals of the Commission. The document is presented to the Commission for adoption. Are there any comments? I see consensus. Document ESCAP/74/L3/Addendum 1 is adopted. That completes the adoption of all the draft resolutions. Yeah, we shall now consider the part of the draft report. China, please go ahead.
谢谢主席女士。主席女士，中方对本届年会出现的多次就会议决议投票表示遗憾。中方担心 ESCAP 协商一致的优良传统正在遭受侵蚀。部长级会议是亚太推动区域合作的重要有效的形式，也是 ESCAP 各方的长期实践。部长会通过的宣言对区域合作以及 ESCAP 的工作具有重要的指导意义。当前，本地区广大发展中成员开展区域互联互通、促进经济一体化发展的合作意愿非常强烈，正在不断深化联动发展的务实合作，这是本地区共同进步和繁荣的需要，是不可阻挡的区域潮流。亚太各方应坚定维护和加强区域合作势头，坚定维护多边主义，进一步提升地区经济一体化水平，推动更加开放、包容、普惠、平衡、共赢的区域发展合作新格局。主席女士，今天的投票结果清晰地表明，区域成员对于发展合作的正确选择。区域国家团结合作的潮流势不可挡。在中国，我们有一句古话，叫做“欲取先予”。这句话，我觉得在 ESCAP 框架下的合作尤其合适。中方愿与各方一道，积极推进本届年会通过的各项决议的实施，推进以规则为基础、以协商为特征、以互利共赢为目标的区域合作。谢谢大家。
Thank you, delegate from China. I now recognize a delegate from Pakistan.
Madam Chair, general consensus is the desired way of carrying out our work at the ESCAP. We should continue to be guided by common objectives of development for shared progress and prosperity of the region. It is regrettable that resolutions reflecting such common priorities have been put to vote. Although the results show what the large majority of the member states want, still, we would have preferred to go by consensus. This is a multilateral setting. We hope member states can bring their genuine concerns, if any, for open discussion in the negotiations where efforts can be made to address them. Thank you.
Thank you, Pakistan. I now recognize the delegate from Japan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Government of Japan attaches high importance to the consensus building process in the ESCAP and UN intergovernmental bodies, and we will continue to do so. From that point of view, my delegation regret that we have to go through the voting 3 times this year. So we do not hope to see that the petition again next year and onward. And of course, in the spirit of the cooperation, government and delegation in Japan will continue to work constructively to seek the consensus in the ESCAP and the other fora. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. Any other comments from the floor? Okay. If none, we shall now consider the part of the draft report dealing with the organization of the 74th session of the Commission as contained in document ESCAP/74/L3. Distinguished delegates, may I kindly note that changes of an editorial or grammatical nature will be taken care of by the Secretariat. In this regard, the Secretariat has a brief update to make. Secretary, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to note for everybody's attention that the list of member states attending the session should include Uzbekistan. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excuse me, the delegate from Japan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My apologies to take the floor once again under this agenda item. But with permission, may I go back to the ESCAP 74/L15? My delegation noticed that the inaccuracy in the description of the one of the paragraph that's related to the my own country. So my delegation will submit the revised text in due course. While we understand that this has been adopted, but since this paragraph I'm talking about is related to only one country, which is my own, my delegation would like to submit a revised text later on. The paragraph I'm talking about is under the draft decision 74/42, paragraph 4 in page 7 of the English version. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. So noted. Are there other comments on the report as presented? I see none. So document ESCAP 74/L3 is adopted. This concludes the consideration of the draft report. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, it is my pleasure to propose that with the incorporation of the various amendments as agreed during this session, the report of the 74th Commission session is adopted by consensus. It is adopted. Before I close the 74th session, I would like to invite the Executive Secretary, Ms. Samshad Akhtar, to make her concluding remarks. Executive Secretary, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates. Your discussions over the past few days have undoubtedly demonstrated this region's potential and determination to support a common agenda, albeit going back and forth, for inclusive sustainable development at least. Let me, from the outset, thank you all for your active participation in the sessions on inequality, multilateralism, and frontier technologies. I know we deliberated a lot at ACPR on the format of the Commission, and with your blessings, we proceeded and we are concluding. I am also thankful to all the member states for concluding very well-targeted resolutions which would provide continuity to the process that we have embarked on in a number of areas. And I really think that these will guide ESCAP going forward effectively. The national perspectives you have provided on the development challenges we face, and there have been so many ministers out here who have had ownership of the different topics, and the measures which you are all deploying to overcome the challenges and issues have been extremely valuable. They provide a firm basis for continued analysis, sharing of best practices, capacity building, and multilateral solutions across our region. Our discussions on how to tackle inequality, to me, were especially important, a subject that I have personally worked on quite a bit in my professional days, in my postdoctoral phase. We cannot allow inequalities to continue widening as they have done since 2000. The economic and social costs are too high, but in considering how to reduce the gap between rich and poor, I'm pleased we examine the potential impact of frontier technologies, the weaknesses of the multilateral and global governance mechanisms, and how the region needs to move to support sustainable development and avoid a digital divide. Your responses to our publications in these areas have been helpful. We have our discussions on how Asia-Pacific can strengthen a multilateral approach to global governance. Our analytical work is an asset of the Secretariat, and its independence should be promoted and respected. But let me highlight some specific areas on which this Commission has made progress. The Commission has been able to agree a resolution on strengthening regional cooperation to tackle inequality in all its forms in Asia and the Pacific. This will give momentum to our work to reduce and alleviate poverty by investing in social protection systems that promote access to essential services, resources, and decent jobs, especially for the most vulnerable. It will support efforts to reduce exposure to environmental degradation, pollution, and disasters. Innovation-driven development strategies that respond to global trends in science and technology and industrial transformation are clearly essential to ensure inclusive development. As is enhanced regional connectivity designed in sync with the multilateral principles, which we will continue to hopefully deepen with your agreement now on the resolution in accordance with the Regional Roadmap of Sustainable Development 2030 Agenda. I'm pleased that we were able to reach consensus on a resolution focused on supporting the smooth transition of the least developed countries in Asia and the Pacific towards sustainable graduation. This recognizes the excellent progress made by many LDCs, 10 of which have met the criteria for graduation. I congratulate all of the LDCs and particularly recognize that Bangladesh met all the 3 criteria. And I'm going to be speaking on LDC's graduation in New York very soon at a side event and representing what Asia-Pacific situation is. But also that LDCs continue to face important development challenges and that a regional approach to analysis, cooperation, and support is vital. You have reaffirmed the importance of driving forward work on civil registration and vital statistics, CRVS, and improving disaster-related statistics in Asia-Pacific. Effective CRVS systems help protect people's human rights and ensure no one is left behind. When I was in Canada discussing the CRVS, plus also another project that we have, thanks to the support of Canada, which is $10 million for women empowerment. I'm really happy that I leave at a note where we have struck a real, genuine partnership with Canada. And I want to thank the permanent representative of Canada for her outstanding support to negotiate this women empowerment project for ESCAP, which is hopefully going to be taken forward, given that women's empowerment will be a subject matter for the next HLPF. On disaster-related statistics, it's critical to inform risk mitigation measures and measure progress towards the Sendai framework of disaster risk reduction. I still remember very graphically that when I went to Sendai, it was very good that we were able to engage with one of the universities that has the competence on disaster statistics, and a couple of, or perhaps even more, UN agencies committed themselves to support and collaborate in this area, and this resolution will help us live up to that expectation. These are both areas where strengthened coordination and knowledge sharing can make an enormous impact. So I'm pleased you agreed on a resolution committing us to organize a ministerial conference on 2020 to review our implementation of the CRVS Regional Action Framework and to continue supporting the development of disaster-related statistics using the framework of United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, Sendai Monitoring. There are other important resolutions that have been agreed to, transport policy, road safety, and so on and so forth. And I have to say I'm particularly delighted at the agreement on the regional economic cooperation, which is very crucial for Asia Pacific. So I understand United States' position and totally respect their position, but I think from where I stand as a professional who has been dealing with Asia Pacific for almost, I think, 30 years straight, I think this is quite useful to go forward with this work, ESCAP platform or no ESCAP. at least my engagement will continue going forward in this. So sorry, I have lost track of my. So we will continue to improve road safety in our region and collectively ensure we achieve the objective of having the number of global deaths and injuries by 2020 and to provide safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport systems for 2030. Now it is time to strengthen regional collaboration to put road safety plans into action, implement driver qualification frameworks, and improve emergency response service. And here we are committed to collaborate with other endeavors that are going on in the region, including the one with UN ECE, the European Commission. I met the executive secretary at the chief executive board, and we thought that would be the way forward. The implementation of the regional framework for planning, design, development, and operation of dry ports of international importance is key to regional connectivity. Dry ports are central to sustainable, integrated, and intermodal transports and logistics system. This area is inherently transboundary, so it's right we work to share best practices in planning, design, development, and operation of dry ports and build on existing intergovernmental agreements. By adopting the Beijing Declaration and Action Plan to accelerate the implementation of the Incheon Strategy for Persons with Disability, member states have shown commendable determination to build inclusive, resilient societies where persons with disabilities are respected and valued. By agreeing a resolution with this focus, the Commission has prioritized making the right real for persons with disabilities across Asia and the Pacific. ESCAP takes careful note of your request to continue with our research and data analysis in these areas. We stand ready to provide technical assistance and capacity building on policies and programs upon your request. Whether I'm here or not here, you can count on ESCAP's full team's support for the regional cooperation on policy coordination to reduce extreme poverty and tackle poverty. To conclude, Your Excellencies and distinguished member states, I would like to thank our Commission Bureau, our excellent chair. I appreciate the chairs of 2 committees of the whole and the working group on draft resolutions. I would also like to express our continued gratitude to our gracious host, the Royal Thai government, for their hospitality and support and for their generous words yesterday in the evening at the reception hosted by the Royal Thai government. I would like to thank the ESCAP Secretariat staff personally. They have worked tirelessly, not only over this commission, but over the last 4 years that I have been associated with the commission. And really for this year, it's been outstanding from my standpoint because we did produce record number of publications, analytical work, which has brought in a lot of depth and breadth of new dimensions. So this commission, 74th commission, has been very satisfactory for me as a professional. The Secretary of the Commission, Mitch, and I have been sitting there long hours in the evenings for several months deliberating on how to get not only our member states, but how to get private citizens, academics, professionals, central bank governors, and so forth to come and educate us about, and also share their own perspectives, whether it is on multilateralism or on inequality or frontier technologies. I do trust that you have as much enjoyed various experts of frontier technology, of multilateralism and inequality. Some very sound academics have been brought to this platform. We were able to invite the World Inequality Report authors to come and share their thoughts. So this has been a very unusual commission for our staff and for me, in terms of also the amount of time and intellectual exchanges it required amongst the several directors out there who have been following up research on the subject matters of tremendous interest to them. I thank the division heads and their staff, the conference support staff, interpreters, security staff, and staff from across our divisions who have demonstrated great dedication and commitment, for which I'm extremely grateful to them. Thank you all once again. SCAS, I don't know where Ricardo is. I owe him special thanks with his team because everything was happening perfectly in terms of the press releases, in terms of also having the videos, buttons clicked at the right time. Thank you again for honoring us with your presence, the various leaders, our chair of the commission. I wish you all a safe journey home, and hopefully my whereabouts, my contacts will be made available to you. A friend once is a friend for all times, as they say, or whatever the proverb. It is too late for me to reflect the exact proverbs that need to be used, but I have to say I'm deeply humbled by the respect and honor given to me during the 4 years term in ESCAP. I honestly didn't know that I would be I would stay for 6 years in the United Nations, because after 2 years, the first 2 years in New York, I had made up my mind to leave until this ESCAP thing was accidentally came to my attention. And then I think I have overstayed, given my other professional interest. Thank you so much to every single ACPR member. I may not be able to see you before I leave, but I want to say that I've enjoyed your conversations, formally, informally, and you have given me tremendous support, because we meet here every 2 months, and I hope that I did support you effectively. Thank you.
I wish to thank the Executive Secretary for her thoughtful reflections on the past 4 and a half years at the helm of ESCAP. I would now like to give my own concluding statement, a short one. Distinguished delegates, we have concluded a week of fruitful deliberations at the 74th Commission session in the spirit of goodwill and mutual cooperation displayed by all members and associate members of the Commission. The Commission session not only provides a platform for member countries to engage with one another, it also provides us an opportunity to engage with the Secretariat. Throughout this week, we have seen the work of the Secretariat, and through it all, there is the evidence of the intellectual direction and strong leadership provided by you, Madam Executive Secretary. You have already highlighted the more obvious outcomes of the Commission session, including the interactive discussions you had on Monday and Tuesday, where the theme topic on inequality in the era of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was discussed. This year, we also saw high-level discussions focused on the multilateralism, in the region to promote inclusive economic and social development in the region and its contribution to global economic governance, as well as policies on frontier technological innovation to accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. In addition, a range of resolutions have also been adopted and important decisions taken at this Commission session. We hope that our active participation at the highest ministerial level, including the experiences and views we share during the delivery of policy statements, will provide guidance to the Secretariat as it continues its efforts to sharpen its response to the diverse needs of all countries of Asia and the Pacific. As we prepare to close this session, I now wish to invite you to look back on the many activities that took place this week. I am pleased to introduce here a short presentation of images that reflect the achievements of this week as captured by our photographers and videographers.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, it's an honor to have you all here. This 74th session is held at a pivotal moment. You have heard a lot from others. There's increasing talk of the unraveling of globalization, which risks fracturing the shared narrative that has supported prosperity for decades. Yet, Asia-Pacific's growth and trade story have been spectacular.
The 2030 Agenda is in itself a testimony to the bare facts that life on our planet has never been fairly and equitably shared. Let us also be reminded that in this era, the tools to enable the achievement of the SDGs are within our reach.
To reduce inequalities of outcome and opportunity, we need to understand their root causes. We must also consider a broad range of policy initiatives and interventions, since neither inclusive development nor the equitable distribution of development gains is an inevitable outcome of economic growth.
We have been preoccupied by GDP figures and statistics, but not the problem itself. We have been focusing on medical development, but neglecting its multifaceted and inequality, its multi-places and forms.
Inequality is part of the fabric of the Sustainable Development Goals. Not only does it have a whole goal, the SDG 10, dedicated to it, but it is also a driving force behind the entire 2030 Agenda. Because if we keep our promises, if we implement all 17 Sustainable Development Goals, we can make the world a more equal place.
With these colorful images, I would like to thank you, Madam Executive Secretary, and your staff for the effective servicing of the Commission session. I would also like to recognize all those from the Secretariat who work behind the scenes to make this session a memorable one. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Royal Thai government for its gracious hospitality. Okay. Okay, I'd like to recognize the delegation of Kazakhstan, the ambassador from Kazakhstan. Please, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, it gives me great pleasure on behalf of my delegation to convey to you our deepest appreciation for guiding the deliberation of the 74th section of the Commission to successful conclusion. And I should also to convey through you, Madam Chair, our thanks and appreciation to the Royal Thai government for the warm hospitality offered to all of the participants. I'm sorry. Finally, Madam Chair, I wish to record our sincere thanks to Miss Shamshat Akhtar, Executive Secretary of ESCAP, and her able to staff for excellent preparation for the session and the services rendered to the delegation, which have made our task much easier. You know, from my side, I want to say, you know, all the famous stars have their last best performance. And Dr. Akhtar, I just want to tell you, you are our star, and you have best performance today. And
So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I bid you all farewell, a safe journey home, and look forward to meeting you again at the 75th session of the Commission next year. I declare the 74th session of the Commission adjourned.